I needed you back, man. It hasn't been the best few days, so we needed you back.
We're back and ready to fire the 2,500.
I know. I was just mad that you sold it out before I did at a lower markup, so I couldn't get to buy you. I wanted to get some of your action.
We can't all be like Rhodey and fire 4 freaking bullets like a champ.
The guy loves his satellites and he keeps winning them, so you can't fault it.
He loves his tickets.
Yep. How you doing, man? So what's tell us real quickly about your trip, and then we'll jump into the slate.
The trip was good. As you get older, you appreciate the time with your kids a lot more. When they're younger, it's like kind of a pain in the ass. I didn't mean that, but when they're younger, kind of a pain in the ass. Dragging them around, whatever. But when they get older, it's like you really relish it. And they were like they're a little more self-sufficient, which you don't have to be babying them the whole time, which translated means they drink more. It was it was a lot of fun. We're back last night. Today, I hope. Listen, there's just literally no way I can lose. It's the Sheets birthday narrative tonight, so we are going to. And they didn't make it easy, man. They have the entire NBA is sitting on in celebration of Eric's birthday. I think nobody wants to play tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know what to do with this one, to be honest with you.
Well,
it's your birthday, so we're gonna get you the win. By the way, happy birthday in person. I didn't get to say it to you in person yet, so
let's catch everybody up on what's going on. So there are, several teams relevant. There's Phoenix, there's Detroit, there's Washington, there's Chicago, and Atlanta. I think those are the main ones. Right? So the 5 teams. The easiest ones to talk about are Atlanta, right? Because Trae Young is out. So all the guys that would benefit from Trae Young being out, starting with DeJounte Murray, go and play. Detroit, basically, you have no
Murray and Bogdanovich for what it's worth.
Just to
throw it out there. I think it's only Murray and Bogdanovich that are like, okay, I really need to get exposure to these guys.
We need to, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's just go. Next one is Detroit. I'm doing this kind of in order of when I've had this news the longest, right? So basically, nobody over 6'6" is playing except for Nerlens Noel, right? Pretty much. So the problem is, it's a back-to-back, right, for him. But I don't know what else they're going to do except play him. They could. What happens if they? What does going small even mean? You know what I mean? Play Bojan Bogdanovic as the 5 or something like that. I guess that's possible. So that's the other bit of injury news worth mentioning. And I'll finish it up by the last 2 teams. Well, the 3, so Chicago, there's no DeRozan, which means that Zach LaVine. And then all the Chicago value from like Kobe White, Alex Caruso, DeSamnu, all these guys we have to think about. Washington, the entire country's out. So you got Avdia, Rui Hachimura, Taj Gibson's getting a projection, Monty Morris, Delon Wright. And then not to mention Phoenix, they're dressing at most 10, but maybe 9. I think they signed.
I'm pretty sure it's 10.
They signed Saben Lee to a 10-day contract. So that's something. So all these guys like Saric, Dwayne Washington, Bismack Biyombo, Okogie, Londale, and all of that, so that you could pick what to do with that value when you use it, right? So. You have at the top, you have Giannis and Jokic right at the top, but Jokic obviously has just an insane amount of blowout risk associated with him. They're playing like the Phoenix G League, right? Whatever is going on.
Although we were all convinced, everybody was convinced about that yesterday. You missed the Phoenix yesterday, where it was convinced that they were going to get smashed. The next thing you know, they're up 30 in Golden State.
Is that what happened yesterday? Oh,
yeah. So they were. It was like all the blowouts that are supposed to happen keep going the other way.
So there it is. Blowout risk. See, same problem. But apparently at the top, and again, then you could take this away. But apparently at the top of the list for spend ups, I imagine that Giannis would probably be the top one just because his game environment is probably a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't really see the overreaching reason to overarch. Like I have one Giannis and Jokic lineup on FanDuel. I don't see the reason to really go out of your way to try to get these guys. Jokic makes more sense if you're going to make a 4 or 5 man Phoenix stack. And I think it's a viable route with news that we don't know what it is. Having in the last game is kind of, you could always switch over a few pieces to Sacramento, Houston, which is getting overlooked, and it's a great game, huge total and everything. But I'm just not like on DraftKings. Like I know we have the value, and I know that Giannis is a good, and I think he is a really good play. I'm actually higher on Drew Holiday in that game than I am on Giannis. So I'm on my DraftKings builds currently. I don't believe I have any players over 9K in any of them. So that's where I'm going, and it doesn't mean that I'm not playing some of the value. I'm not interested particularly in the center value on this. I think that it's very, very fishy. The Nerlens Noel thing yesterday, it was less fishy because they needed the size for Embiid. Needing size against Gobert, it sort of works the other way. Actually, the whole thing the Clippers did, and they still now make it a part of their whole thing, and the way they beat them in the playoffs is if you put 5 guys who are shooters on the court, like you really can't. Like Gobert basically becomes completely irrelevant. But what are they going to play Noel, who played his season high minutes last night on the back-to-back? I don't know, man. I would rather just fade it. I don't, and comfortable is a very strong word because Saric also just played the most minutes of his season, and he's now on a back-to-back, and he is the one I really do like. And I think Dwayne Washington or Lee from that game are the priorities. But I want to get exposure to Deni Avdija, Rui Hachimura. I want to get Levine and Vucevic. I want to get Murray, Bogdanovic, those types of guys. And I like Drew on the other side of that game. So my builds are sort of going to be fairly consistently similar with each other, where Chicago, Atlanta, mini stacks or full stacks. I'm sorry, Chicago, Washington, Atlanta, Milwaukee, mini stacks or fullish stacks with the Phoenix value. And that's pretty much what I'm doing as of right now on DraftKings. So I'm not interested in guys like Taj Gibson. Don't do that. I don't care if it works. There's no way. Like he has to not only be good for value, he has to beat out like 50 other centers. I think the Biyombo thing, that was really frustrating to a lot of us last night because Londale was announced the starter like 4 minutes before game time, and they never changed the announcement, and they just let Biyombo go out there and start. So that was really.
From what I heard, they took him out pretty quick. No.
In the second half because they were on a freaking tear.
Oh, I don't know. I had heard that.
No, he played totally normal rotations. He had, what did he have? 14 minutes at halftime, 22 overall.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He came out after 6 minutes, but that's pretty much what they always do when they start Biyombo.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, again, these guys are on back-to-backs. Biyombo's is getting up there in age. I prefer Londale if I had to pick between one of those two, but overall, that's not the guys I'm getting to. I do like, making sure to have one of Rui or Avdija. I like the Saric. I like the either Washington or Courtney Lee. I think you can mix in Mikal Bridges and Torrey Craig. I even think Kobe as a lower owned option is kind of interesting.
What do you think of Gobert?
He's a good play, but it's a good situation except for Naz Reid is playing. It doesn't, Gobert. I don't know. I feel like it's got a range of outcomes. It feels like it's a great matchup, but I don't feel like there's any sort of a total lock here on him. But he's fine. I'm playing more Vucevic than I am of him right now.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a little better than I like Vucevic a little bit better than Gobert as well.
But I would like to get to some of them, and I don't love my build for the 2,500 right now, and I named most of the guys in it. I just can't quite get something I love. I do think that this price is too low on Holiday, assuming that he's a full go, which I feel like we should assume considering he played 35 minutes in the last game. We would hope that game would stay close, though, because if it doesn't, you're in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
Because Holiday will come off the court coming back from the injury. So that's a little bit worrisome. And then it's also worrisome to fade Giannis, because then Giannis gets, even if they're up by 20 in the late third, early fourth, Giannis is probably the one staying on the court until they're up by 30 and then does his normal thing. As Rody said, hit the like button. But just to go through the teams that you mentioned, I don't think there's anything you have to do from Detroit. My highest level of interest would be in Saddiq Bey or Killian Hayes. No problem with anybody else, but just not getting there. And I mean, we still have huge question Q tags, which would make that game stackable, because if Kyle Anderson and Anthony Edwards are both questionable right now, then I'm all in on like make the Russell, Gobert, Killian, and Bey or Bogdanovich type of thing. And I think that makes a lot of sense. But we need that information. It's the first game of the night, so we should have it. The Chicago guys, I think Levine is going to be really popular because of sort of positional stuff. I think that Vooch gets lower owned, and I actually think that Vooch is a really strong play. And I think because of the price discrepancy with Kuzma between DraftKings and FanDuel, I think he ends up lower owned than he's being currently projected for on DraftKings. But I'm still siding more on DraftKings with Avdia, Hachimura, pretty much those two as being my main ones, and then mixing in a little bit of Kuzma. And the Atlanta situation, I don't really know. Trying to find a logical argument, like the projection is ridiculous on SaberSim for DeJounte Murray. Why he's projected at 42 fantasy points, I don't know. He's averaged 59 DraftKings fantasy points without Trae Young this season. I don't really understand the projection. Like, I really think if DeJounte was 10K, we would be talking about playing him. And that makes it really hard for me to fade him at 8,200. But I also like Bogdanovich much more than Hunter. Hunter is always a filler piece, but not a guy you necessarily need on a huge slate unless you're game stacking.
I don't know. I have an overall projection of 46 for DeJounte Murray. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, he averages 59, so it's a little.
Well, but it's not. You can't project him at 59.
He can be. I mean, he should be projected for higher than whatever Trae would have been projected for tonight by a lot, in my opinion. I think he should be projected for around 50.
I have Murray in quite a few of my lineups.
I mean, if you think it's a good projection at 46, I would say fade him, because
they're all. It actually looks like a pretty good projection. I mean, it actually looks pretty good at 46. Remember, they're all priced like this. You know what I mean? Everybody's priced ridiculously bad. You know, like it's like I don't know, like Vucevic is really 43. I don't know.
43
seems to be higher. I don't know.
For total points. Yeah, I mean, that one makes a little more sense to me, considering that, I'm just going off of what happens with the ball with DeJounte Murray, especially against Milwaukee, who plays.
I still kind of think that with this Detroit thing, that if you don't play Noel, you're really, I mean, who's going to get rebounds? I think that probably Bojan is probably a good play.
Yeah, he's fine. They're going to play 11 guys. They do it every time. And Isaiah Livers wasn't there last night. Just keep that in mind.
Let him stay in the corner. That's fine.
What? Well, no. That's the whole point, though. Is if Isaiah Livers is a go, Nerlens Noel may not even play. Like, you know what I mean? There is that possibility. It's not like Nerlens Noel is a core part of this team. They're just missing all their bigs. And I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying that they have right now. They're projected to play 11 guys. That's never that exciting. They balance out the minutes. It's a back-to-back, so they're even going to be more of that. The only one who didn't play last night was Bogdanovich, so you're right. I do think that he's a reasonable play. Probably not going to do it at his ownership, because I think he's going to be really popular. And it's the first game of the night. If I want to play the first game guys, I want to play the Chicago guys. I think Kobe White's a great flyer, but I'm not getting too much of him. I'm more on the Vucevic Levine, running it back with one of Rui, Avdia, or two of them, and Kuzma. So those are the only first games that I'm really into. It's kind of a weird slate where we have that big break, But like, I don't have any interest in like hardly anybody in the middle game. We have a question here. McCollum or Halliburton. Both of those guys are fine GPP plays. Nothing stood out to me about either of them today. I think McCollum's always a good play without. I mean, it's a better matchup than it was because Smart's out. But McCollum and Halliburton, neither of them are making the cut for me. They're both fine. I think if I had to give an edge, I'd maybe because he's cheaper go McCollum, but I think they're really close. Taj Gibson over Noel, says Joe Snow. I don't think either of those guys are winning you tournaments tonight, in my opinion. And if there was, I certainly wouldn't bet on Taj Gibson being the one.
That's fair enough.
Taj Gibson on this kind of a slate just feels like super, super fishy. Like, how much value do we need? You know?
Yeah.
And then Clay is asking Rhodey is top power forward. So Rhodey, if you want to throw that in there. Rhodey, do you want to ask me? The top power forward is pretty much the easiest play on the slate, I think. But, you know, I don't think Saric is necessarily going to put up 40 again. But I do think at 3,500, it's kind of hard to resist that, especially considering they won. And Saric is actually talented. Like, this is not a guy who, like, doesn't have, like, a little bit of pedigree, just never had the right situation.
He could actually play a little bit.
He played he just put up 40 last night. He's good, man. That's also what killed Biyombo and Londale is that there's no reason to play another center when he's their center against Golden State. So Londale and Biyombo both got sat down to play Saric. He played 26 minutes of the game before where they did have Ayton. Just worth noting. The problem is the blowout run is definitely dangerous on a back-to-back, but they don't have like a long-term investment in Saric, so it's I'm not all that worried about it. Anyway.
You like the Kogi?
I think he's one of those guys. I don't really know how else to put it. I think he's one of the guys you could consider from Phoenix. And Phoenix, I think that you should probably have 2. I think you can have 3. And I think at 4, I start to wonder if maybe it's a little dangerous on the back-to-back. And like Ish Wainwright gets a bunch of minutes. Like, that's my fear about playing Saric, is that somehow on the back-to-back, they just don't let him fully go.
You like
go ahead, Chiefs.
You like playing any of the Sacramento Houston guys?
I like the game. Sabonis and Fox, I think, are both great plays. Just genuinely not getting to them. They're totally fine.
That's what I was saying. I got to say the same thing.
Yeah, but I think that if you wanted to if you literally wanted to just take a real big gamble and just skip the early, just literally play the 10 p.m. games, I think you could get most of everything.
I was thinking of that. I was really thinking of that.
No, it's really worth it. The value is like the value's there. You've got pieces you could spend up for. You got mid-ranging stuff. There's a lot of ways you could build if you just built off of those games, but probably maybe you really miss it. Maybe you do it with just DeJounte or something in the early stuff, or just Bogdanovich or something. Because I think that one of those 2 guys, it's really hard for me not to see them hitting like a 7x or 6x or something like that at a reasonable price tag.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and for what it's worth, Drew Holiday hasn't looked right defensively, and maybe it's because he had to face maybe the greatest player alive, Jalen Brunson, the other day. But Jalen Brunson was kind of beating him up a little bit in a way that I've never. I mean, Drew Holiday guards Kevin Durant, like, you know what I mean? I don't understand what's going on, but it was sort of weird to watch. Like he was actually getting bodied constantly down low by Brunson. And look, like. The automatics for me are like Murray, 2 Suns, at least one of the Bulls, at least one of the Wizards, and then everything else is sort of up in the air. But that pretty much fills out 5 out of 8 guys. And I actually am willing to go. I say one of at least. I'm just going 2 at least in those situations and hoping that game stack pays off.
I wouldn't mind playing Brunson if I knew that. Barrett was out.
He's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, just enough to take away. I mean, Julius Randle had 57 fantasy points the other night on 9 of 29 shooting. These guys just play a million minutes and get up a million shots without those guys. Joe Snow asking Levine tonight with DeRozan. Yeah, we touched on that one a bunch of times. He's like one of the most popular plays on the slate by the time it's said and done.
Who's that?
Levine.
Yeah. I thought I had my big one. I thought I was happy. And I'm just something about it just bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, what is it? Talk through a little bit of it.
I mean, I'm ending up with Bogdanovich. I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I really want Vooch over Gobert, but Gobert's going to be so popular.
Is he? Are you serious? What are you getting for him? Because
I thought he would be earlier, but I guess not.
I don't see him as being very popular at all.
How does he not get 25 rebounds in this game?
He hasn't been rebounding the same lately. He had one big rebound game. And, I mean, the truth is that he could turn into Naz Reid at any minute and get back to those 27, 28 minutes that he was going.
Yeah.
A couple of the 21 rebound game, I'm almost pretty sure that was without Naz. Maybe Naz. Oh, Naz only played a little bit that one. I think he got banged. What did he do? Oh, no, I don't know what they did with him in that game, actually. It's the Clippers, right? 9. Yeah, with Robert Williams out, I think Al Horford is fine on FanDuel. I have no problem with that, to answer Clay Davis's question. And I'm going to be out of here in about 10 minutes, so fire on any more questions.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to try to get to my builds.
Yeah, you know what, mate? Originally, I thought I was going to play Giannis in my big one, but you know what? With Levine opening up like that, I'd rather play. You know what I mean? I'd rather play him and someone better. You know what I mean? Than play Giannis.
I mean, I think Giannis is obviously a really good play. It's I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but.
With Smart out, are you interested in anything with the Celtics? I actually think Derek White and Brogdon are both in play, but I'm just probably not going to get to them. That's how I have those guys.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I think Horford is like mildly interesting.
The Drew Holiday thing's kind of annoying me because I really like him, and now you scared me a little bit.
No, he's in my big lineup right now. I have him between literally 10 lineups I've built. He's in 8 of them, so don't be too scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stuck on that one. I sort of spooked myself a little bit, I think, too. So I don't want to spook us both.
What do you think of? All right, let's put it to another way. Who's your favorite? I mean, who's your favorite like 3K guy in Phoenix? I mean, like Biyombo. Like, who's your favorite 3K guy? Like, if you had to,
Sorry.
Noel, Biyombo, Okogie.
Oh, there's nobody at 3K that I like.
You don't like Okogie, or
he's okay. He's not a priority.
Or Noel, or Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, I don't see any need to do all this stuff. First of all, I want to make sure that Noel's even starting before we even have that conversation. I have no reason to think that everything should be exactly the same from a game. They started him once, they lost by 31. I don't know that we should just assume that they're going right back to it. And they could use Isaiah Livers. I like Joe Snow's question here. Damian Lee or Washington for shooting guard. So much ownership on Washington. I kind of agree, by the way. Washington's usage is out of control, but he still only played 26 minutes last night. Now, that's also the problem. Lee played 30 minutes, and Lee is much more much more shooting reliant and doesn't shoot the ball nearly as much as Dwayne Washington. So it feels like Dwayne Washington might be a little bit overowned, even though I do like him. And this guy shoots more per minute than any player in basketball, so it's hard not to. His usage the last 3 games, 40, 42.5, and 32.5. If you average it out, and 40 the game before that, if you average out his last 4 games, one of them only played a couple minutes, he would have the highest usage percentage in the NBA. It's hard to ignore that stuff, you know? But I think Damian Lee, the players in the 3Ks that I like, I think Damian Lee has a wide range of outcomes, and he hit 14. He made 14 free throws last night, which is kind of wild. Like, I guess he was more aggressive going back to his old team, and his stepbrother, Steph is his stepbrother for all those who don't know. But I think that the ones I'm most focused on are is Saric.
Who are your favorite Chicago's besides LaVine? Who are your favorite of the guards?
LaVine, then Vucevic, and then
no, I know for the cheapos.
Want to stack William? Nobody really.
Okay.
I think we're really forcing, like, I mean, any of them, sure, Dosunmu has more game than probably people realize. Caruso's super cheap, but just coming back. I think Kobe White would be Kobe White on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I don't think so, but DraftKings at 33. The problem is Kobe White could just as easily be Goran Dragic. You know what I mean? They have actually 5 guys who have spent a good part of their career playing point guard.
Who started for Phoenix last night at guard? Washington.
Just Washington. Well, it was Washington, Bridges, Craig, Saric, Biyombo.
Craig. Okay. Damian Lee came off the bench.
Yeah. Washington, Bridges. I think that means Washington. I support the playing Bridges thing. Much less so than I did yesterday. I was much higher. I wasn't on Bridges early yesterday. Then I got way on him when they announced all the guys out for Phoenix and they only had 8 players. But they have 10 tonight who can at least suit up. He played 40 minutes and on a back-to-back for a low usage player. And I'm looking at a thing from our Discord right now saying Bridges has the ball in his hands all the time. Do you want to know what Bridges usage was? It was 20%. And then the game before, 14%, 18%. You're counting on this guy being extremely efficient, getting a bunch of rebounds, and then he had 3 blocks and a steal. Now, that's possible, but this is not a matchup where I'm counting on that. It wasn't really that they played more. I mean, first of all, they were up by 30. So when that happened, they just waited longer to bring their closing lineup in. So I don't really know how to rate all the minutes last night. The only guy that kept on the court the whole time was Bridges. Craig Saric, Craig was the 3. Yeah. Washington and Bridges. That's what he was saying that the backcourt was. I see what he's saying. I thought he was saying play Washington and Bridges. I think both of those things make sense. Denver probably is, but Jimmy, if I'm not mistaken, was it you yesterday who came in and said that the Suns were going to get killed? And then there was the other one the other night where the Lakers, the one where the Lakers beat Miami. We literally, everybody in chat just blew up and was cursing me out for, not really cursing me out, but just like, how could you possibly want to play Westbrook and all this stuff? I'm not sure if you were there. I think you were here for that one. And Westbrook went nuts, of course. The Lakers won. Okogie is okay. I just don't think you're trying to get to these guys. Like, I would like to get to the better plays on this slate. The problem is all of these Suns guys, I'm not going to tell you any of them is a bad play because it's a back-to-back and they've got, obviously they're limited on bodies. It's just how do you weigh that versus the rest of your builds? You know what I mean? I think Saric is being I think around 25 is probably more where Saric is, and that's where he is on 28 on SaberSim. All of these guys look like are just okay. I think Lawndale would be my next, my weird play. I do think that he's got more upside in this game, and I think that you're not going to probably see Saric guarding Jokic much. So I think you're going to see Lawndale or Biyombo on the court all the time, and Lawndale I think is much better upside, especially considering that he's younger and it's a back-to-back. Be very careful with the only thing I would say about the Şengün and what tilts me about him, and I do like Şengün for what it's worth. I like him in general. I like him in this matchup. First of all, he's going to get absolutely terrorized by Sabonis.
Yeah.
I watched him play the other time. I think Sabonis had 40 fantasy points in the first quarter. He just cannot match up with him. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't get his own on the other side, but his minutes he's played 30 and 35 and 32 the last 2 games. I wouldn't say that he's playing in the 30s now. He played 21 and 25 and 16 and 21 the 4 games before that. Also, the danger with him is that he's just not getting touches. Jalen, when you don't have the ball in your hand, you're playing with Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., you're not going to get many touches. I actually think Jabari Smith might be my favorite player in that game just because I think he's safe at 5,100. I think there's upside.
All right. I think I'm going to get going.
Okay, I'm going to probably bounce too. I think really that's what you do. You play one of Şengün, Jabari, KP, KPJ and Jalen Green. If my favorite's Jabari, but Şengün and Porter, I'm certainly not going to argue with that. They both have much higher ceilings than Jabari probably has the ceiling. He's more safe. He's going to be around 30 more often than 40 or 50. All right. But anyway, good luck to everybody tonight. I hope that one of Sheets, Rody, myself, or any of you guys who may be playing win the $1 million. That would be really fun. Please hit the like button before you get out of here. We had a nice group in here today. We can talk, guys, like down the road about maybe me starting early and handing off the Sheets or doing something that we do differently, because I always find myself a little flustered on big slates around 6:30 Eastern. But so just let us know what you guys think about that. Appreciate everything. And Sheets, anything else?
No.
Well, happy birthday to Sheets. So Sheets gets the win. Sheets can have the $1 million tonight. I'll take second.
Well, I will tell you this. Unless things change for me, I will tell you guys what game to root for at least.
Okay.
You could root for the Chicago game. How about that?
Okay. Well, you can root for the Chicago game for me too.
Very good. Okay. Good luck, everybody. And listen, let somebody get a sweat.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody.